Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our first Q&A session with Protiviti brand ambassador Matt Fitzpatrick. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Lindsay Dart. I'm one of the managing directors at Protiviti based in the UK. I gave Matt a shock earlier when he discovered that the girl he was expecting wasn't, and in fact is a 59-year-old bloke who's also, in my spare time, a complete hack around a golf course. For those of you not familiar with Protiviti, we're a global consulting firm. We deliver deep expertise, objective insights, and a tailored approach and parallel collaboration to help business leaders face the future with confidence. We were delighted earlier this year when Matt joined us, and he wears our logo on his left sleeve, as you can see. Well positioned, Matt.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
And he joined a fellow golfer, Jennifer Kupcho, as a brand ambassador for us, representing our values of innovation, inclusion, and integrity. I'm pleased to be joined as MC today by my colleague Dave Thomas. I have to confess, Matt, that I promised Dave that I wouldn't mention he's actually a professional golfer as well. I think formerly on the Euro Pro Tour, is that right? In the European Tour, Dave?
Played Challenge Tour 2010 to 2012.
Oh, okay, nice.
But he's now found his true calling with Protiviti, and he leads our services business in Wales and the Southwest. So Matt, if it all goes horribly wrong in the future, you can always come to join us.
I can come to Protiviti. There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're all aware Matt plays on both the PGA and the European Golf Tours. He won the US Amateur in 2013 and has 5 career victories as a professional. And I think you beat Nick Faldo's record for youngest player to get 5 victories on the European Tour. So congratulations on that. He's currently ranked 20th in the world, and we're speaking to him ahead of the Scottish Open, which is being held at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick this week, and then next week at the PGA Championship at Wentworth in Surrey. So Matt, thanks very much for joining us today.
No, not all. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're delighted, as you can see, we've got lots and lots of people on the call today. We already have lots of questions, but if people want to ask other questions, then please use the chat function in Microsoft Teams. Dave and I will do, actually probably Dave, because I can't multitask. We'll try and do our best to keep an eye on that. Obviously, you can ask any questions you want. Matt withholds the right not to answer them, of course. But,
thanks.
Depending on what we ask. But please put your questions in the chat. You can access it following the instructions that we've put in the chat over on the right-hand side in the top top right-hand side of the of Teams. So Matt, a rather unusual year for all of us, and
just a little bit.
Yeah, professional golf no different. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did during lockdown?
Not a lot. Yeah, not a lot. For me, I came home from the Players Championship on the Monday. I think I flew home the Monday after the Players, and then I was basically home for about 4 days, where all tournaments were cancelled. Everything was done basically, and then home for about 4 days, and then UK officially went into full lockdown. So then it was like, right, what do I do from here really? So I managed to get a net to hit into in the back garden. I already had a mat, balls, clubs obviously, but got that set up, and away I went. And for the first 2 weeks, it was great because it was new. It was like a novelty, you know. It was new, hitting shots into a net, and then after about 2 weeks, I got fed up. And even though it was only, you know, 10 yards away to my back garden to hit balls, I sometimes I couldn't bring myself to do it. You know, I was seeing the ball fly 2 yards. I didn't know anything really. So yeah, it was very, very strange.
So from your point of view, what was the best bit about quarantine? Were there any positives?
The best bit about quarantine was, you know, not having to go out and travel. To be honest, after doing it for like the last 5 years, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But you know, it was actually a nice break to just not have to go to an airport and everything like that. It was kind of a nice reset, to be honest. Just to sort of, you know, I feel like I know I'm very, very lucky to do what I do, but to sort of have a reset in this way was obviously not ideal, but at the same time it wasn't, you know, I didn't feel like it was the end of the world really. So.
And how much time do you spend away from home on tour? You know, in a typical.
I mean, I think I probably play about 27 to 30 weeks a year. And this year, obviously, quite a few less, just because of, you know, tournaments through lockdown all cancelled and not sort of reorganised. So I'll be away for 30 weeks a year playing tournaments, and then, you know, just a few extra weeks, probably 4 extra weeks away, just either from travelling or various other bits and bobs really. So
yeah. So I think you returned to the PGA Tour in the middle of June. So yes. What's it been like back on tour?
It's been strange, yeah. I mean, obviously having no fans, it's very unusual. You know, there's no atmosphere at tournaments. You make a putt of 30 feet and it's a little bit flat. So it has been very strange, but at the same time, you know, it's just been great to get back playing again. This is actually my first week back on the European tour since January, because mainly I've been playing in the States. So the setup here is a little bit different. It's a little bit stricter in terms of what we can and can't do. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to stay on site this week, so you know, I don't have to move. It's hotel golf course anyway, but there's some people staying in Edinburgh 45 minutes away, and they, you know, once they get to the hotel, they can't leave. So yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, because I think during the UK swing there were some really struggled with it.
There was, yeah, and it's, I mean, it is understandable. I do get it. From my side, you know, I'm not trying to be rude to those people, but you know, I don't have a family yet. I'm still pretty young, but I think, you know, you kind of know what you signed up for, you know, once you enter. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, the guys knew sort of what they were getting into really, but I can understand that it's very, very strange not being able to leave the hotel room for week after week after week.
Yeah. And do you think it's changed the result not having crowds? I mean, do you think?
I think, yeah. I couldn't put a finger on what it's done exactly, but I think some events it's gone one of two ways really. It's either people have felt more comfortable, so the scores are a lot lower, it's a little bit more relaxed, or it's kind of the other way almost, that they're not getting sort of the energy off the crowd and not playing as well, and I think that's you know, that's also something that's happened, I think, on the tour.
Matt, we've got a question here and a link to that in terms of feeling more or less pressure without the fans there. I know a couple of the boys that play, and they really miss it, and they need it to feed off, to your point, with the energy. But what about you? Have you felt more or less pressure without the fans there?
No, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say I've noticed it. I mean, no, that's a lie. I've noticed that there's no fans, obviously, but in terms of, pressure performing, I wouldn't say I've noticed it too much. I'm still, you're still sort of focused on every shot, and there's a lot to be said for that. But for me, I would always rather play in front of crowds, just to have an atmosphere, just to to get excited about something. The TV, the crowd noise for the football is just awful. I hate it. And then, I like listening to it quiet, but at the same time, then it does sound very weird. But for me, the sooner we can get crowds back into everything, the better it'll be. Particularly once golf comes back, once football comes back, those first few events and games are going to be unbelievable.
I mean, there have to be some benefits. And during not shouting "get in the hole," though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's polite. Yeah, that makes it that makes it a lot easier. I know for one, my caddy Billy Foster, he's delighted about that. He was getting fed up about that. I mean, that only happened. I don't know if there's many Americans on this call, but that mainly happens. No,
you're in safe territory. This is the European.
So you haven't heard many mashed potatoes kicking around then, Matt, have you?
Not in Scotland. Not in Scotland.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat, and we'll I'm sure come on to the Bryson DeChambeau bulk topic. But one question that I did have: did you take time during the lockdown to review any of your equipment? So conscious that you have been using an older TaylorMade driver. Clearly you've got the ping iron setup, and then I think it's the Seymour or the Yes putter. Have you made any changes to that? Did you consider making any changes?
No, nothing really. I've not made it. Well, the only change I've made this year is a 3-wood. That was sort of on the edge of, we were getting rid of that anyway at the start of the season. We were kind of in and out of that anyway. But on the whole, my driver cracked a few weeks ago in Chicago, but fortunately TaylorMade had some spares, so they sent me those. So the ones they sent me is exact copy, so no problems there. But everything else has been changed. I'm not someone that likes to change too much, really. It's interesting. I was having the same discussion with my trainer and my caddy today. My trainer was like, "Oh, you seem to crack clubs all the time." And actually, I don't. I've cracked 2 in my entire life, so they just happen to be in the last 12 months. So no, I don't like to change much. I think you're kind of risking it a little bit. You got to have that comfort factor with the club that you're using. You got to be confident in what it is, really.
Surprised one of the manufacturers haven't managed to snap you up to get the whole bag yet. I'm sure they're all queuing up.
TaylorMade tried for a little bit, but my problem with TaylorMade is that I've only got one club of theirs, so it's hard to sort of get the whole setting. The closest is Ping, and I love the Ping drivers, but this TaylorMade driver is as good as I've ever had. So it's just stupid to change. So I would say Ping are the closest. But yeah, I mean, what's the saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
Something like that. Yeah. So.
Good man. And so a couple of quick fire ones. Oh, sorry, Matt. Sorry, Lindsay. I was just going to fire away and say 11-1 this week. Billy Miller's wondering if he should put 10 quid on it. What do you reckon?
I'd put all the cash you got on me, 100%. Definitely don't do that. Don't do that. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that.
Lindsay, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So Matt, I guess we had a couple of questions when people were registering around. When did you really first realise that you could make it as a professional golfer? And I guess just linked to that, how much support did you get from your parents in that? And
yeah, I mean, for me, the plan was always to, well, I say always, from about 16, 17, start playing. I was playing for England, and playing for county, playing well. Then I won the British Boys, and then I decided to go to university. And the plan really was to do 4 years, get a degree to fall back on in case golf didn't work out. It was a great plan. And then 2013 came round, and I was playing awful at the start of the year, then qualified for the Open, won the low amateur at the Open, then won the US amateur, and all of a sudden all these doors opened, and couldn't really afford to turn them down, playing in PGA Tour events, playing in, majors and stuff like that. So that changed my opinion big time. My dad sort of sought the advice of Pete Cowan, whether he thought I was ready, and he thought I was. He compared me to some players out here that he saw regularly, and he said, he's comfortably good enough to compete, and that was the thing really. It sort of came out after I turned pro, played okay on my starts, nothing special, and then sort of gradually got more comfortable out here, and sort of ended up sort of establishing myself as a winner and stuff like that. So that was kind of the plan. Was never to turn pro. From 9 years old, it was never always going to be a professional golfer. It was always just to sort of work hard and see where it went really, and take it from there. And fortunately, so far it's gone all right.
And you've always got Proctivity as a backup anyway.
Exactly. So. Now you told me.
Yeah. Now we've established.
And I'll tell Joe.
Hey Matt, it works. It works. It works.
I'll tell Joe that, so that's fine. I'm sure he'll have me.
Matt, we've got a question here, and quite an interesting one. Who was or is your golfing or sporting hero, whether that be growing up or indeed now?
Growing up, I mean. Everyone. It was always Tiger as a golfer. It was always Tiger, and I don't think I probably idolized him as much as some others did necessarily, and I wouldn't really necessarily say I had anyone that I really took after, and I was like, oh, I want to be like them, or I don't know. That just never was me really. I kind of wanted to sort of do my own thing and be myself. I had so much respect and admiration for actually my coaches, Pete Cowan and Mike Walker, and if anything, like I figured if golf didn't work out, I would try and work for them. But sort of just growing up and sort of working with them, they were sort of two people I looked up to a lot, particularly for advice and obviously getting my golf better too, and that was a big deal for me.
So Matt,
great. And sorry, go on, Lindsay. I'll fire him with a few more questions shortly. So I think a couple of people have asked the same question, Matt. Thinking about your game and strengths and maybe areas for development, what courses suit your game best, do you think?
For me, I would say that sort of tight golf course, tree lined. That's the courses I enjoy playing for one. It's interesting. I mean, for what I thought would suit my game, I've played on golf courses and never played well around them. Trying to give you an example, Dubai Desert Classic. If you hit it offline there, you're not in great positions, and it's that's kind of my strength. I'm kind of a straight player, and but I just never got on with it there, and I think that's probably because a lot of 90% of the holes are right to left, and I hit it the other way, so that's not ideal. But then realised sort of the last 2 years, Abu Dhabi, when I first came out on tour and I was hitting it shorter, it definitely didn't suit me. I wasn't long enough, and I came out this year and I was longer, and the year before I played really well, and I've had a second and a third there. So that all of a sudden becomes a golf course that you didn't think was going to suit you, but now it does. So
Absolutely.
I think it varies year on year, and there's a lot of stats models that say, oh, this golf course suits you and this golf course might not, and I've been and I've been to them and sort of blown them away. I mean, one prime example actually was this year, the golf course, the Travellers, TPC River Highlands. I'd never played it before. That was like, according to the stat people I work with, that was like the #1 golf course to suit Matt Fitzpatrick's game, and I missed the cut. So it's just like it is like, well, okay, well that's giving me that, but it really does. It depends on how you play on the day, and I can think of golf courses that are wide as hell, and I've had good finishes on them. So I really think it kind of just depends. It is like straight up. If you play well, it doesn't matter where you play. You'll play well.
Well, I suppose if you think about your win up in the Swiss mountains, I know a bunch of people that have won there previously have been absolute bombers, and people like Miguel that have won around there. A couple of those short par fours, nice and tight, got to plot your way around there.
Exactly.
So it shows it can work on any stage. One thing I did want to come on to, and you've mentioned about bombing it, we talked about sort of getting big and hitting longer. So, we're going towards the Bryson bit, which is interesting. I'm sure everybody wants to know about that. But we've got a couple of questions here in quite similar vein from Steve and Caroline and a couple of others. Have young children, sons and daughters. Steve has a son called Jax, turning 10 tomorrow. He's about to go to his academy. Caroline's got a 14-year-old, golf obsessed. What's the best piece of advice you could potentially give them?
My best piece of advice would be, well, there's obviously a few bits, but I would say that they just got to keep enjoying it. Don't lose the enjoyment for it. It's very easy to do that, and sort of, but yeah, you got to keep enjoying it. But at the same time, if you want to make a career out of it, you got to work hard. And nowadays, it's naturally not necessarily about standing on the range from dawn till dusk and just grinding and sort of making your hands bleed. It's about actually sort of planning your practice, doing the right things, what you need to work on, and sort of figuring it out like that, really. But I think if they want to make a career out of it, would be to work hard and just to make sure you keep enjoying it.
And happy birthday to Jack for tomorrow.
Yes, happy birthday.
Lindsay, do you want to jump in or shall I carry on?
Oh, you go. Keep going.
Alrighty. So what is one from Bavna, and excuse my pronunciation, I think I've got that right. What's the easiest or rather, what's the easiest major to win according to you? Not sure there's an answer to that, but let's see what you think.
Look, if someone has the answer to that, they can tell me. If they could let me know, that'd be great. I'll keep that one to myself.
Probably anything on PlayStation, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think possibly the hardest one to win. Well, no, I would say probably the most
US
random.
Open?
The most random, I would say, would be the Open, purely because you could play the golf of your life and have a morning draw on the first day, and that could be the worst weather. You shoot one over, and that's the leader of that group. But then in the afternoon, it's dead calm, and everyone's shooting 3-4 under, and you're 5 shots different. So, I think that the Open's the most random. I would probably say it depends who you ask, because if you say to Tiger Woods, what's the easiest to win, he's going to say the Masters all day long, and that, that's for him. The hardest for me would be the USPGA, and the same would be for Jordan Spieth, for example. That's the one they've got to win, and there isn't an easiest one. I can't say this is the easiest one to win. Just there isn't an answer to that one.
In terms of open venues, which would be your favourite course?
My favorite one that I've not actually played would be Turnberry. I'd love it. I mean, fortunately, with the person who owns it now, I don't think it's ever going to go back there. But
Yeah.
I would love to. I'd love to play an Open there for sure.
Yeah. So we had a couple of questions ahead of time, and probably a good example. I mean, you mentioned the Travellers.
Yes.
But actually, the Memorial, you shot. This is going to sound a bit Anaraki. You shot a 75, a 66, a 74, then a 68, and then the following. Actually, the BMW, you shot 70, 75, then 68, 67. So the thing being, you've had a, for you, a bad round. How do you mentally prepare for the next round?
Honestly, that's a question I'd like to ask everyone else, because I can't seem to do that very well at the minute. I keep my problem is my problem sort of the last 18 months really has just been I've had poor first rounds, and that sort of put me out of position. Poor first or second round that sort of knocked me back a little bit and stopped me from contending to win. If I look at my results where I've played really well or not played, if I've had really good finishes, they tend to be the ones where I've had 4 good solid rounds. And we're trying to sort of, me and my team are trying to sort of work out what the reason is really why I'm struggling to start off well or whatever it is. And I've always felt that it's one of those for me. Once I'm in the position, I find it difficult to give it away to someone. I feel like it's mine, and I hold on to it very well. But it's kind of just getting myself more into the contention and not playing myself out of it too early, really. So for me, sort of mentally, I'm not really working on anything in particular at the minute. I don't see a psychologist or anything, but it's just trying to sort of find a balance of not to play myself out of it really when I'm not having a particularly good day.
Yeah.
And just on, I was just going to say, just on that point around sort of the mental side of the game, there's been huge coverage of that over the years, from when Ernie was working with the likes of Jos van Staphout to the Carl Morrises and the various psychologists that are out there right now. In line with the question from Matthew Dews, what advice would you give to overcome the mental scars of holes or maybe courses you've played poorly in the past?
Courses that I've played poorly in the past, now we just don't play them again. They just get knocked off the schedule. We won't
chopped off the calendar.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I think Dubai next year potentially we might not play depending on how the schedule is formed. But we. In terms of golf courses like that it's a case of, every year we sit down and look and figure out. We tend to play golf courses. Well, we make sure that I play events that I've played well in before. Make sure I play at golf courses I've played well before, and then also just look at what has the best run. So if rather than playing one, then a week off, then one again, then a week off, it might be better to play, let's play 3 in a row and then take a week off, or 2 weeks off, or whatever it is, that we kind of make sure we do that. So have a bit, at least can sort of gain some momentum. Golf holes though, I'm very statistical. Funnily enough, Protivity are helping me with my statistics right now. But for me, it'd just be looking at the stats on that particular hole. If I've not played it well in particular, why? Where am I hitting it? Do I need to pick a better line off the tee? Do I need to play more aggressive, less aggressive? Purely statistical from my side of things. I think I got played. So it might have been actually here last year. Oh no, maybe it was Wentworth. Somewhere anyway. I got given the scores from my stats team on my average that I've played certain holes, and one of the holes, for example, I was playing it 0.6 over par, which actually is quite a lot. I was losing effectively. If you play it level par for 4 days, you're picking up what's the maths on that? 0.66. 2.4,
2.5 shots.
You're picking up 2.5 two and a half shots on previous, on my previous scores, which is a lot come the end of the week. So for me, purely analytical, just looking at where I've gone wrong previous years when I've played the golf courses, and just sort of taking it from there really.
We've got an interesting question, so I don't think we'll go with who are the overrated players on tour right now, but who would you say are maybe some of the most underrated players that you see, whether that be stateside or here on the European tour?
Underrated, I would say probably Tyrrell Hatton. I think Tyrrell, he's kind of coming out this year. I think everyone see that he's a very, very good player. But before that, he sort of had good runs and never really sort of taken off. But this year he's played great. Really is a good player, great iron player, and a very good putter. So I would say Tyrrell is probably my number one. I don't think he gets talked about enough really. So.
And is there anyone you dream of having their swing, apart from maybe Robert Rock?
Adam Scott probably, and his looks. But yeah, I would say Adam Scott. He's got the best swing on tour. Everyone knows that, and he's a great golfer.
You mentioned Billy Foster, your caddy. Those on the call who don't know, Billy used to caddy for Seve, for Lee Westwood, Darren Clark, and was actually, I think, I read somewhere, voted by the other caddies as the best caddy on tour. So don't take this the wrong way, Matt. How did you end up working with Billy?
No, not at all. No. So it's a strange one. I was kind of in limbo at the end of 2018. I just parted with my sort of caddy of 2 years, and finding a caddy is basically like picking a new wife or girlfriend. Really, that's like you spend more time with them than you do with them. So there's a lot of stuff that's got to fit. But I'd known Billy a while since I came on tour, and obviously I knew about him because of who he was, who he's worked for and stuff. But he's close to my coaches, Mike Walker and Pete Cowan. He sort of basically put his name in the hat for my job because he knew he was going. I was just taking my time. I wanted to make sure whoever it was going to be the right person. Obviously, I knew that he'd put his name in the hat. There was a few others as well, and then he worked for me at the end of the year. I was looking for someone just to do 1 week, and he did the week for me. We got on great. Then we came to the end of year meeting with the team, and he's brilliant, very organised, very switched on, goes about his business the right way, and we get on very well as people, just because of we like football, love golf, obviously, and both from Yorkshire, so it's there was plenty of pluses, and he agreed to work for me.
I wasn't going to mention football, but presumably this week has been a bit of a challenge for you.
We can move on. Yeah, we can move on.
We'll move on from that. So just for those of us who've never had a caddy, what difference does the caddy make?
Well, you don't have to carry your bag. That's a huge positive. And let me tell you, these bags weigh a ton. There's for me, Billy brings a lot of things. It's quite interesting. I didn't know this. I kind of knew it the whole time he's been working for me, but he's very, very flat. Very, very flat. Doesn't matter whether winning by 10, losing by 10. He's very flat. So he told me this after the US Open when we just missed the cut. I holed an 8-iron on about the 15th hole, and we both just looked at each other. I was playing well, putting awfully. I was disappointed. I wasn't contending. So it went in for a 2. I was close to the cut mark. I was like, oh, you know what? All right, whatever. It is, it is what it is. It's great. I've held my second shot. He was the exact same. Oh, well done. A little clap. Nothing too exciting. anyway, we finished, and then I 3-putted the last to miss by 1, and then we get in afterward, and he doesn't, no motion, nothing, hard luck, whatever. And then we were talking that night, and he was saying he said I wanted to scream so loud when you made the 2 on 15. I was like, really? That surprises me. You never say anything. And he said, and then I wanted to cry when you 3-putted the last on 18. I said, all right, sorry about that. But no, for me, Billy, he carries his yardage book, so he'll do the yardages. He'll walk the golf course. He'll tell me the lines off the tee, tell me where not to hit it around the greens to certain flags. What else will he do? Help me in my practice. He'll set up my practice drills, various little things like that, really.
What about putting, Matt? Will he help with lines, or do you like to do that yourself?
No, very rarely. I've got to be really struggling, really. If I can't see it very well at all, then I'll ask him to come in and have a look. Otherwise, I tend to do it all myself.
So, Matt, today, obviously Tuesday, you start first round Thursday. So you've been practicing today.
I have, yes.
Tomorrow. What can you just talk us through the sorts of things you do, for a tournament week like this?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I'll normally, I'll give you a run through of today. So today, got up this morning, shower, go for breakfast, have breakfast. Then I go into the gym to warm up for 10 minutes, stretch, foam roller, all these other little exercise my trainer gives me. And then after that, I met my putting coach. So I saw him for an hour. We did some work on my stroke, hit a few putts as well, sort of did a little test. Then I went from there to the range, hit balls for an hour, just sort of going through my swing. My coach was watching, just figuring things out. Not there was anything to figure out. He was just sort of keeping an eye on where I'm at, really. And then from there went to play 9 holes, played the front 9, got to see the golf course, play some chips and putts around the greens, think where the flags are going to be. Okay, it's here, can't miss it there, do it. And sort of all that sort of stuff. Then came back in, had some lunch, and then I have a flight scope, which is like a radar, and that tracks how far the ball goes. And I can do different challenges on that. It tells me, okay, hit this one 150 yards, hit this one 167, hit this one 162, and so it's just it's sort of like it's a copy of being on the golf course effectively, but you're just on the range. So I have a couple of those. I did a couple of those challenges, and then that was it. Came back, worked out with my trainer, and then I'm here. So that's sort of how it tends to go every day. My performance coach, he plans my days for me. We'll talk about it. He'll normally during tournament weeks, it'll be relevant to what I'll need for the golf course this week. So he knows that there's a lot of mid irons this week. Today I practice mid irons. Tomorrow will be the same. And then just to get ready for Thursday.
And do you have an idea of where pins are going to be on the course during the week, or?
I think from last year we might be able to sort of to get some details from that. Right. But I mean, normally we played the golf courses multiple times, so they're always in roughly the same spots, to be honest.
Yeah.
Will they put dots on there? Will they put dots on the green these days, Matt, or not?
They don't do on practice days. They do it on Thursday, Friday. Well, they do, yeah. So Thursday for Friday, Friday for Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's normally what they do.
And and we've got, sorry, I was just going to say we've got a question here which feeds in really nicely actually. Thinking about strategy, Andrew Law wondered about strategy, match play compared to stroke play, but maybe we could link that into your strategy for this week and how you're gonna attack the tournament.
I mean, I wouldn't say in match play or stroke play, I wouldn't really say there's much difference, particularly now I've seen it at the pro level. I've played in a couple matches or match plays, should I say. And for me, I mean, it's all about keeping yourself in the tournament. The match play side of it is very different, depends who you play. It really is a completely different game as professional compared to the amateur stuff. You might go out there with a bit more of a game plan, whereas as a pro, it's literally just try and make as many birdies as you can and go with it. You know, you can play aggressive. It doesn't really matter. Stroke play it's about whoever makes the least mistakes. You know, it really is. I would say the majority of the time, I don't have a statistic on this, but I would say, you know, the people who make the least bogeys for the week, least bogeys and doubles, tend to be the ones that have the best weeks. So it's not always you know, I would say I mean, people can probably answer at home. You know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of amateurs feel like pros go at every flag, you know, on the golf course. And actually, I would say I go at a flag once a round if I'm lucky, I would say. Just because, you know, it's just natural. It's golf. It's just the way dispersion is of golf shots. It's, you know, when you're on, your dispersion's tighter, but it's not arrow straight every shot. It's just the way it is. So it's a lot about playing the percentages, really.
So Matt, you mentioned the US Open, and obviously we've had a few questions about the Bryson and bulking up and his bomb and gouge approach. And I think you retweeted something. Was it that Lee Westwood had said about how many?
Yeah, I did, because I was disappointed with the setup. I thought the setup was going to be good, but the rough wasn't thick enough. To be honest, it wasn't penal enough for missing. It was, don't get me wrong, it was penal, but I don't know. I drove the ball fantastically well that week, and I didn't really miss many fairways, but I was still going in with, you know, let's say on average it was like a 6-iron, whereas Bryson was going in with a 9-iron, for example, but he was from the rough. Well, law of averages realistically is basically makes it as easy with a 9-iron out the rough as it does with a 6-iron from the fairway. I think the setup was probably they got it a little bit wrong because they didn't make the greens firm enough early doors. And I don't know if that was the time of year or what really, but the first day that I watched some of the morning golf and guys are hitting it out of the rough and stopping it on the greens, and that just isn't a regular US Open. That really isn't, and it was a bit disappointing for me because I felt like I had a chance, because I thought, okay, well, this week's going to be a premium on accuracy as opposed to length, and it turns out, you know, it wasn't really. I didn't get a full look at the full leaderboard, but certainly the top two guys that absolutely bomb it, so Wolf and Bryson. So hopefully that's not the way the game's going, but you know, it might be.
And what do you think they'll do? I mean, there's so much speculation as to what needs to happen, because there is a limit as to how long you can make a golf course, isn't there?
Well, I think there's that, and people are talking about climate change now, and you know, land available to people, and you can't keep making golf courses 8,000 yards long. You just can't. You don't have the room for it. So something's got to be done. Whether equipment change, ball change. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of talk and nothing's been done. So it's yeah, it's just going to be very interesting, I think, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
But I think just to put it in context, I think your average is around 294 off the tee, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it's something I can't even possibly imagine. So, so we'll move on.
How much is carry though, Matt? Just out of interest.
Well,
how much of that 294 would be a carry?
I think average tour roll is about 15 yards, so I would guess about 280-ish, 270, 275.
Now, we did have a question.
I was going to go back to the question, but the one thing I was going to ask, we talk about people bulking up. You've clearly been doing a lot in the gym, and a little further if you look at your stats now versus when you first came on tour, you're sending it out there a lot further. How have you seen that? And apologies to go a bit anarchy, but in terms of spin rates on your driver, and thinking about carries and carry versus roll, how is that sort of playing out, and what's the approach, do you think, moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, I'm not very anal about that sort of stuff, looking for spin rates, and I'll keep an eye on it. But as long as my driver goes straight, that's all I'm bothered about, really. So I know guys that get really into that. And I think there's a limit. Yeah. I think you do need to look at it. You need to get something that fits your eye and sort of that works well, and you sort of getting the distance you want out of it. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of guys that try and go for too much distance, less control. They take it out there. Yeah. And I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, but I played with Bernd Wiesberger in Dubai, and the first day, and they'd just been doing some driver testing, and this thing was just falling out of the sky. When he got one and it went in the fairway, it was going miles, but he barely hit any fairways. And then the second day he came out, you could see that he'd fixed the driver, he got more spin on it, and he drove it way better. And I think I think there's a lot of guys that sort of chase distance a bit too much, and sort of sometimes end up getting the sort of the, what's the word, the bad end of it, I guess.
So you mentioned timing.
We've got it. No, go on.
I was just going to mention. So the Masters is going to be in November.
Yes.
What difference do you think that's going to make compared to?
I've heard a mix of things. I've heard it can be very firm and fast at that time of year. That's their autumn, so I think it can get quite dry just before the winter there. So I've definitely heard mixed things. I've heard that it could either be dry, firm, and fast, or it could just be cold and wet. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be cold either way. But
I was going to say, I'm assuming we've provided you with some Pretivity thermals as well as t-shirt.
Of course, yeah. I'll be fully wrapped up.
For this week as well. It looks a bit.
As well, yeah. Let me tell you, I've brought plenty this week. Yeah.
It looks a bit.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what it's like. I mean, yeah, I've seen pictures, and it's yellow right now, but that's just because the summer grass is still there, I think, before it sort of starts growing again.
Yeah. So
we've got a couple of questions, Lindsay. Just I'm conscious of time, and we want to try and get through everybody's questions. So a couple of individuals, Matt, have asked around who would you have wished to have played with, or who do you wish you would have played with that maybe isn't playing now? And then we've got a couple of questions around Ryder Cup partners, so maybe we could link those two together. So who do you wish that you played with that you hadn't? And thinking about you playing in a Ryder Cup, who would you like to partner with?
I wish I'd played with Jack Nicklaus in his prime, definitely. Lee Trevino as well, just because the way he had a sort of quite an interesting technique. And then Ryder Cup partners, I'd love to play with Rory. I think that'd be good. been lucky enough to play with Henrik Stenson in the one that I did play. But yeah, sort of, I think it'd be good to play with Rory. Really, I think he can sort of just knock it on all the greens, and I'll just hold the putts. That'll be fine.
And the right decision to cancel.
Sounds like a good.
Postpone it.
Yeah. Yes, I would say it was the right decision. I would say it was. No crowds. It was never going to be the same atmosphere. And next year, hopefully, crowds will be allowed back, and it'll be great.
Cool. So a few quick fire questions, if that's all right, Matt.
Sure.
Favorite course on the European Tour?
Crancis, yeah.
Has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, no doubt.
It is the one I look at on the TV and think, I wish I could play that course.
Yeah.
But, lowest score for 18 holes?
60.
Whereabouts?
That was in Holland, actually, at Kennemer Golf Course, I think.
Holes in one?
3.
Most recently?
3 years ago, I think.
On tour?
In New York, actually, in New York, just playing with a friend.
Choice between the Open and the Masters?
The Masters, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you get to go back every year. There's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's amazing.
Have you ever scored double figures on a hole?
Not that I know of. I can't remember it. Maybe as a kid, but not as a pro or as an amateur.
And what do you do away from golf to relax?
Try to go on holiday when I can. But no, I mean, regular weeks, just, watch football. Not that it's very relaxing at the minute. And sort of, catch up with my mates and family. Really, it's not a lot. I'm not really a partier, so yeah.
We've got a question in the chat. How do you mentally recover from a bad shot? Now, this is advice I need.
Yeah, it's advice I need as well, to be honest. No, for me, my coach told me something good the other day, but I've completely forgot it, which is really, really bad. But it's something like, you can't do anything about the last shot. It's literally the shot. The most important. Oh, that is it. Most important shot in golf is the next one. That's the least important is the one that's just been hit. So, you can't do anything about it. You just got to get on with it. As frustrating as it can be, it's you just got to get on with it.
And I think that's the difference between pros and amateurs. The pros, it's the next shot after a bad one is always a good recovery shot.
A good one, yeah.
So Matt,
if you hit a bad shot, are you a club thrower? Are you a club thrower, a breaker, tantrum, or not?
No, not a club thrower or breaker. Just get frustrated at myself.
So we've got a lot of, apart from Dave, we've got a lot of amateurs here. We've had a few questions which I won't ask. Things like, I occasionally slice it off the tee. How do I stop?
How do I fix it?
Yeah. So, but I guess, what's the one piece of advice when you see amateurs play? What's the one thing that you think, as a group, we ought to focus on?
Everyone tries to swing out their shoes. Yeah, everyone tries to swing it way too hard, and I think for me, it would just be to slow it down. Certainly on the way back, slow it down on the way back, and keep it slow on the way through. Too many people just, I don't know if it's excitement, nerves, or what. They just try to just take the skin off the ball.
So you're our brand ambassador. I'm just conscious of time, Matt. Obviously, you're our brand ambassador. What was it that you saw in Prativity that made you choose us? Yeah,
for me, it was I'd met Joe. My manager Ted had done a lot of talking to Joe, your CEO, And sort of they were very, or Joe was telling me about the very innovative, the fact that you're global officers all over the world, so it sort of speaks with me, given all the traveling that I do. Obviously Joe very much into his golf too, and sort of we talked a lot about that, but the fact was for me that particularly at the start I felt that we could work together and do sort of some projects that actually we kind of both care about, really, as opposed to sort of just going through the motions. And that's one thing that I mentioned earlier about Protivity sort of helping me. The data team's actually helping me with my stats right now, trying to build me something to help me analyze it a little bit better. And that's that's huge for me. It's going to be huge for me. Hopefully for Protivity as well, I can sort of help almost advertise that and sort of show it off, really. So it felt like a great match, and came at the right time for me. And no, I mean, so far it's been brilliant. I've had a great time, done a lot of stuff with the company, and hopefully it'll be great going forward.
So we've got one comment in the chat. I don't think it's a question.
Okay.
It's from a former colleague of mine, Niall Simpson, who's actually in the Cayman Islands. So we'll not feel too sorry for him. He says, "How did you hit a ball 294 yards by slowing down your swing?" Question mark.
Yeah.
We'll just park that.
Slowing down on the way back. You can accelerate as much as you want on the way through.
So Matt, very conscious of time. This has been a real lot of fun for certainly for Dave and me. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Worries.
We are properly proud to have you representing us on and off the course. We wish you all the very best for this week, for next week, for the season ahead. I want to thank everyone else for joining us and for all the questions. Everyone, play well, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks
very much,
Matt. Thanks, guys. All the best.